Hello, Terry Swope here, CEO of LinkSpring. Welcome to Control Talk Now. You're listening to the man, the myth, the legend, Ken Schmeyers in the original, not a copy, the real deal, Eric Stomquist.
Welcome to Control Talk Now. This is your host, Eric Stromquist, and this is Control Talk Now for the week ending September 29th, 2013. I am joined, as always, by the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only Kenny Schmeyers, the controls guy from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I tell you what, Kenny, I got to say a special thanks to Terry Swope from LinkSpring for that just incredible introduction. I mean, we're not going to get any better than that, are we?
No, thank you very much, Terry. We really appreciate it. That was special and shows you the dexterity that Terry has. Not only is he a top executive who's nominated for CTA awards, but he's also quite a musician. And just a little bit about LinkSpring, our sponsors for the September 29th Control Talk Now. So you have an array of products, hardware and software, lighting, energy, and of course the LinkSpring Cyber Pro.
Yeah, and all those products a lot of those products are up on the nomination ballot, Kenny, for the 2013 Control Trends Awards. So if you haven't nominated yet, there's really no excuse for that. You don't have to register to nominate. You can pick the nomination ballot up right there on the Control Trends website. We do have it set up, Kenny, where you can only nominate, do one nomination ballot per computer. But you can take that link, you can forward it to your network, you can post it on your website. You and I are both committed to making sure we get a whole lot of new players into the 2013 Control Trends Awards. In LinkSpring, Terry is up for the 2013 Controls Executive of the Year. He's on the nomination ballot for that. And I got to tell you, with Terry, Kenny, if they had a nomination for the coolest executive, I think Terry would win that hands down, man. What a great guitar player. What a cool guy. So really like Terry. And I guess we got to say thanks to our friend Mark Peacock. I think Mark works for LinkSpring now and works with Terry and those guys. So what a great team they have between Mark, Terry, and George Hawkinson. So be sure to check those guys out on the nomination ballot. Be sure to check their website out, linkspring.com. We'll put a link in the show notes. All right, Kenny. Anything else you have to say about the 2013 awards and the nomination ballots?
No, it's just it's very exciting because there's so much participation. We really thank everybody for spreading into their communities and their networks because it's a growing item of interest and everybody's putting it on their agenda and we appreciate it.
They really are, Kenny. And I mean, we check in. I mean, people from all over the world are voting. We have candidates from all over the world that are now on the nomination ballot in the 2013 Control Trends Awards. And what we do, if you go to the ballots, you'll notice that there's a place you can write in other. So if you don't see somebody you want nominated or a product or a company on the ballot, you can just simply write them in. And then Kenny and I check those nomination ballots periodically. If we see somebody's got 2 or 3 votes in the other category, we'll go ahead and add them officially to the nomination ballot. So really now's the time. The nomination period ends October 15th. So definitely get involved now. Okay, Kenny, so we had a busy week at Control Trends last week, a lot going on. What do we have up first?
All right, Eric. The first post was Honeywell releases universal fire and smoke actuators. Got a nice post there on Control Trends. Invite our viewers to go to it because it has a lot of information on there as far as the old numbers and the new numbers, the replacement numbers. But universal models with or without internal auxiliary switches, a great product offering from Honeywell.
What really is, and let's talk a minute about fire and smoke dampers, Kenny, because I tell you what, those are the type of things you don't hear about them unless there's a fire. And, because if you're a building owner and you're not checking those things and have those on records where you're actually checking those dampers to make sure they work, heaven forbid, you'll probably never have an issue with that. But if there is a fire and you don't have a log where you've been checking those things on a regular basis to make sure they work, you could be in some deep trouble. So I think Honeywell does a great job, as well as Belimo and others, with the fire and smoke dampers. I think that more and more people are coming when they need replacement to their local distributors on that. I know we stock them. I suspect you guys do as well as our affiliates at Controls Group North America. So if you have any questions about the fire and smoke dampers, there's several posts on Control Trends about what code requires to actually check those. So very timely post, and Honeywell's making it easier to replace the fire and smoke dampers with Honeywell dampers, and Belimo does as well. What do we have up next, Kenny?
All right, Eric. Again, we have like you said, it's a busy week with a lot of great products and solutions were introduced last week. Contemporary Controls came out with two products. There's two posts there. The first one was the new BAS Cloud VPN service from Contemporary Controls. Another great security product out there to make your IT networks a little bit safer, or a lot safer. And it's a great explanation on how and what they do. So we'd invite our Control Trends viewers to go to those two posts. The second component that Contemporary Controls introduced was the EIPR-V, which is the Scorpion VPN router. Provides secure remote virtual private network communication. So two great posts, two great products by Contemporary Controls.
Well, I tell you what, we're big fans of George Thomas. I mean, if there was a category for smartest guys in the controls industry, he'd probably be right there in the top two or three. We met George for the first time at Haystack. Brilliant guy. We've been selling their products for a while, Kenny. Their routers are just the best in the industry, I think. So good stuff there. And it seems like this VPN Scorpion thing that they have is might be their answer to internet security for the BAS systems, which is a topic we talk a lot about on the show. You know, LinkSpring's got their Cyber Pro, and it seems like this is another approach to making those building automation systems secure. So hopefully we'll get George on the show at some point in time in the near future. George, incidentally, is on the Control Trends ballot as well as Contemporary Controls. You'll notice that they have been they're getting a lot of votes in the nomination process. If you like those guys, be sure to go in and cast your nomination for them. Let's see if we can make the top 5 or 6 and make the finals. So, Kenny, speaking of cybersecurity, LinkSpring has a great product. I got a chance to catch up with George Hawkinson at the 2013 IBICON show. Here's what George had to say about LinkSpring's approach to protecting BAS systems from hackers.
Created a product called Link Cyber Pro, and what it does is it hardens the firewall for a building IT infrastructure, where we essentially remove the devices from the public IP, and basically make it simple to install, simple to configure, and something that's simple that's for our industry to understand, that allows them to talk intelligently to the IT folks, where they can actually gain remote secure access. So with that, we have our Link Cyber Cloud, and we have our Link Cyber Key. You install a cyber key on the network, you associate which devices you want to have remote secure access to, and bam, you're done. You log into the Link Cyber Cloud. The Cyber Cloud directs you to what key you want to talk to, which you're associated with, and then from the key, you go directly to the devices. The beautiful thing about this is there's no exposed ports on the firewall. There's no exposed devices on the public internet, and there's no need for a VPN connection as far as for your IT guys, so they don't have to add your third-party vendors to their LDAP or their direct active services.
Cool stuff from LinkSpring. What's next, Kenny?
All right, Eric. Next up, we have the Honeywell introduces new flanged control ball valves. Another great product offering. We see more and more applications where ball valves are taking over the market, and they do a good job. And as people learn a little bit more about the characteristics and make sure their system can take on the ball valves in conjunction with globe valves down upstream and downstream and work out those issues. Another great product being introduced by Honeywell. Again, a lot of technical information provided on Control Trends. Just hit the link and you can read all the information regarding the cross-referencing and the application information.
Well, listen, Kenny, I want to go off on a little bit of a tangent. Speaking about the new website, because both you and I have our Twitter feeds hooked up now on the bottom footer of the website. And the thing, Kenny, we're noticing, this is what I want to caution people about, is we notice that our website, ControlTrends.org, is not real consistent with Windows Explorer. Okay, if you go Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, all those seems to work really, really well, but with Windows Explorer, it's sort of hit or miss. So if the website looks a little funky and you're using Windows Explorer, that's probably what's going on.
I do. I have problems with the Internet Explorer, and I stopped using it because everything's out of scale and it doesn't have the color, the vibrancy that you put all the time and effort into that website. And if you don't access it through a good browser, you don't get the features. So,
yeah, and yep. I think we're getting a lot of positive feedback on the new website. So you'll notice we have the featured post area. So if we have a post that's really, really popular, we can keep it up a little bit longer, and then you scroll down a couple lines, and you will see that it actually then you get the the post in order that they come up. So, anyway, if you have some feedback on the website, we'd appreciate it. But we're pretty happy with the way things are looking. It's starting to look the way we wanted it to, and we're trying to make the information easier to find, and more accessible.
All right, Eric. Next up, we have an industry first. We're very, very proud of the Control Trends interview with Tom Rossbach. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that interview and how you set it up and what we accomplished with that interview?
Well, I got to, hats off to Tom, who is the general manager and really handles everything regarding Honeywell and has been really responsible for a lot of the decisions going on at Honeywell and Tritium. And for those of you who may not know, Honeywell does own Tritium. So Tom's made a lot of tough choices here and tough decisions the last year. Some of them have not been real popular. So we did have a chance to talk to Tom. Tom agreed to talk to us because I think our community had some concerns. I mean, I think, not hearing anything was a concern for a lot of us. So Tom agreed to come on to Control Talk and have an interview with us. So Tom, thank you very much for that. He was very candid, Kenny. He answered a lot of the questions that we had. And I tell you what, why don't we just take a quick excerpt from it? I mean, one of the big questions that you had was, what's Honeywell going to do with Vicon, right? Is Vicon going to get to act independently, or is it going to be sort of under the Honeywell thing? And here's what Tom had to say.
Well, it's no secret that Honeywell acquired Tritium. I think what a lot of people don't know is how we manage Tritium. So Tritium is an asset to the entire industry, and we sell a lot of products broadly to our competitors. And so we keep Tritium separate from Honeywell as a separate limited liability corporation, and we manage it that way so that there's really true independence from Tritium to Honeywell. We share a lot of personnel systems and back office systems, but where it really counts, we operate Tritium as a separate independent business.
Well, Eric, and also we asked Tom about the spiders. There were some concerns about the tools and the issues, and here's what Tom had to say.
What we're hearing from the field is that some people are having a little bit of trouble deploying the spider, and that the tool needs some improvement. So the very first thing that we're going to do is do something called refactor the tool. This means that we're going to rewrite it and solve all the small problems that people are still having. And I also have to say that we've been fixing the tool as we went along, right? So the tool that we introduced in 2007 and the tool we have today are very different. But I also have to tell you, this is the first really big application that anybody did on top of Niagara. And we broke some glass. We really pushed hard to have an innovative offering, and it is. But we made some mistakes, and we know what they are, and we've got a program in place now with our software development teams to completely rewrite the tool. The spiders are going to be with us for a long time. We've sold a lot of them. It's a great hardware product, but also I know that there's a bunch of holes in the product offering. We don't have a good plant controller option. We don't have some smaller controllers, and we created the LCBS category, and then we kind of abandoned it over time, right? Web Vision is certainly not it. That's what I'm hearing from the field. So we're going to go, resolve those specific issues. At the same time, we are embarking on a new generation of controllers. You'll hear more about it as time goes on, but we need to increase the capability and leapfrog the existing controllers, the spider controllers that we have. They're going to be with us for a long time. They're very capable, but I know that we can do more, and the team is excited about this program.
So again, Kenny, lots more on that interview. We have it posted on Control Trends. It's right there in the featured post, so be sure to check that out. Tom, again, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Kenny, I got to say, really appreciated his candidness, and he's done some things that some people don't like, but I think he's made some tough choices, and hopefully things will shake out well for Honeywell. Tom, thanks again.
Eric, also just in follow-up to the interview with Tom Rossbach, how about the Honeywell Momentum Roadshow? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely, Kenny. So Honeywell has a lot of new products. One of the things that Tom told us, as well as Amy Anderson, is Honeywell's got a lot of new products that they're going to be introducing. And Kenny, normally they introduce those products one at a time. They got a bunch. So what they're doing is they're taking it on the road, Kenny. They're bringing their top executives and product managers, along with product demos, out on the road. They're going to be traveling across the United States. They call it Momentum on the Road. So it's a great opportunity to stop in, see your local distributor, meet the folks from Honeywell, see a ton of new products that they're bringing into the marketplace. And Control Trends is going to be covering that. So we'll be keeping up with them where they're headed and where they're going and where they've been. So Control Trends can be your source, one of your sources for finding out where the Honeywell Road Show is headed next. I know we got them coming to Atlanta at the end of October. So we'll keep you posted on the Honeywell Momentum Road Show. Kenny, what do we have up next? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to add, Eric, that was an interesting concept. Like you said, Honeywell's changing their market approach. They used to send out product advertisements one at a time, and as Tom said in his interview, that was kind of annoying and didn't get it across how they wanted. So this time, they're going to throw everything out there in mass and show everybody all the products and let it kind of differentiate. As people wanted to know a little bit more about the products, the product specialists and managers are going to be there. Everybody involved in the roadshow are going to be very competent and technically savvy on the products and the applications. So it's a great idea.
Yeah, and Tom said he's going to be making several of those too, so you might have an opportunity to meet Tom. And I think what Honeywell has really become sensitive to, like everybody else, is people just don't have the time and they don't have the attention for a whole lot of stuff. So I think this is going to be where you can come spend an afternoon at your local distributors and really get a lot of great information, get a lot of great contacts, and also provide Honeywell with a lot of great input. So I think it's a great idea. So look for the Honeywell Roadshow coming to a town near you.
All right, Eric. Next up, we have DG Logics and training down in Georgia about a little bit about the DG Logics product. The new floor plan zone builder tutorial from DG Logic was posted, and it's a great little overview of how that product works and a relative ease of sectioning a zone and populating it with information. So invite the Control Trends community to go and watch that tutorial. And if it's possible, sign up for the training down at Stromquist.
Yeah, so Kenny, we're actually bringing the guys from DG Lux and are coming to do the 3-day training class, the same training class you would do if you flew to California to the factory to get it. We're trying to make it convenient for our folks. But hey, what's turned out to be sort of bad news for us is good news for some of the people out there. A couple of our integrators who were signed up had to cancel last minute. They had a big project come up, so I've got some seats available. I'd like to get them filled. Atlanta's an easy place to fly into. I think the training is regularly $1,900 to $2,000 if you go to California. I'm willing to play Let's Make a Deal because this class starts next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you're so inclined, you want to be involved with DG Lux, do this training class for a substantial discount. You can fly into Atlanta. We'll hook you up with a great hotel. Come in, hang out with us. We'd love to see you. Contact Nancy, 1-800-241-9471, and let her know you're interested. And like I said, we'll cut you a heck of a deal on this because the class does start next Wednesday. It goes Wednesday through Friday, and we do have some spots to fill. Okay, so that is a really cool thing there. And those guys, Kenny, the Men in Black, they're awesome. So they're doing great stuff. This product, I think, is just phenomenal between the graphics package they have, Kenny, and then also their DG box, which is a phenomenal thing. We've talked about it on Control Trends, but if you have a system that doesn't have a Jace or a smaller system for very, very little money, and I'm talking about in the hundreds, you can take this DG box. It can read BACnet, all kinds of different points. It sucks those points in. You can create a customizable graphics package very, very easily for a customer. So this is like the type of product that would work great with Mike Marston's, Beast from the East, or any type job you have where you don't have a Jace in to suck those points out. If you've got the Jace, you're probably just going to suck those points into a DG Lux front-end graphics package anyway. But we'll be talking about the DG box too at the Stromquist training in Atlanta next week.
Speaking of Mike Marston, Eric, who do we have next as our next guest?
Well, funny you should ask, Kenny. Our next guest is one of our favorites. He's We call him Mad Mike, the scientist. Mike Marston from EasyIO. Mike is a controls guy through and through. He is one of the founders of EasyIO. We talk a lot about these guys. EasyIO was the 2012 DDC Controller of the Year. Mike has a new controller out, which we'll talk about, called the Beast from the East. But it is my pleasure to introduce Mike Marston, a.k.a. Mad Mike from Thunderdome. The guy who has more frequent fire points than probably any guys in the controls industry. He travels all over the world. I'm not even going to ask where Mike is today. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here, guys. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Hey, Mike, so you did real well in the Control Trends Awards last year. Tell us about the FG32 and yourself. What's new about the Beast from the East?
Thanks for that question, Ken. Well, the Beast from the East, I guess, is that me or is that our amazing new control range? I guess it's both. We're getting quite a following around the world, and it's really a lot of fun. I'm very lucky I get to visit many of you in different countries around the world. What we've produced with the FG Beast series is just something that we haven't seen before in this industry. So what we've been doing is Lim and his team have been busy kind of rewriting the rules using proven systems like Linux, getting things to market fast, and taking advantage of what we use in everyday life today, such as mobile phones, tablets, etc., using the components that those devices use. If it takes us 4 to 5 years to build a product, then we can't use those devices. So it's important we get our hardware finished within 1 year. So the V1 FG32 and FG20 has now hit the streets. We're getting great feedback.
So, Mike, when is BACnet available on the controller on the Beast?
BACnet's not available till December 2013, and that's not because we don't know how to do BACnet. We just want to do it well, and we want to build the platform to be incredibly powerful to do energy monitoring and control and HVAC control in those small buildings. So keep watching this space. What we're going to have is we've already got Modbus, TCP, and RTU on the controller. You can string 31 devices off the RTU port. BACnet MSTP is reserved as a second processor, co-processor, which helps us really tackle that MSTP lower source code level to deal with the token passing and the speed of response and all that kind of stuff. So the co-processor means you don't lose any performance when you start using BACnet MSTP. So you'll also be able to have 31 devices off the MSTP port.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the MSTP and how many points can you feasibly get into the system?
Now, let's not get carried away. At the end of the day, there is still a limit, and obviously we need to look at the number of points that we have on each one of those devices. Very similar to other devices. But the big thing is we're using HTML5 graphics straight out of the box. That doesn't mean to say that graphics are going to be used for every project. Where we see it is a starter package to get the foot in the door. We're seeing already that our sales of JACEs and our sales of other systems and solutions are going up because we're getting our foot in the door. We have some customers who are rolling the packages into service contracts, and the customers are really happy. First thing they say is, hey, can I now integrate my lighting? Can I now integrate other systems? And the first thing we say is, hey, you need a JACE. Put a JACE on top of this. And now you can talk to all those legacy devices. You can start looking at big data and look forward to Niagara 4 and all the benefits that come with Niagara. What we want to do is get into the ground level and get the business.
That's really cool, Mike. So this controller we're hearing is pretty darn powerful. Tell us what's under the hood of the Beast from the East.
So in the controller, what we have is not only HTML5 graphics, but we've got an SD card in there. We can store 10 million records on 1 gigabyte. There's going to be an interface later this year that will allow you to push that straight into the SQL database on the SD card. But at the same time, you're still going to be able to serve up your logs and archives up to JACEs or supervisors. In addition, you're going to have very close control. We're getting speeds of about 150 cycles per second on every object, and that's on a controller running 600-700 objects. So I think you're going to see an amazing new performance, and of course the price is very good. It's not because we don't make money, we do, but we get it to market quickly, and we don't saddle you really with 4 to 5 years of amortization costs and overheads. So we're really passing the benefit on to you, to the user.
So, Mike, I mean, there are rumors that there's like a B2 and a B3. I mean, you're talking about already the Beast is just hitting the marketplace, and you're already talking about the Beast 2 and the Beast 3.
We have massive plans for the range. We're already on V2 hardware coming out next year with more power, and V3 will follow the year after. Everything will be backward compatible. Everything will work with each other, even with the existing 30Ps.
That's pretty powerful stuff. So, Mike, say a bit about, the Beast uses Sedona. Say a bit about Sedona and why you guys use that.
Well, that's a very good question, Eric. Let me try and explain to you really what is different now. Firstly, Sedona has brought some amazing new opportunities to this industry. It's allowing us to create an ecosystem below where Niagara sits, taking us down to those small buildings at a very inexpensive price. And as part of that ecosystem, because Sedona is the only open source platform and implementation, it's not a specification, it's an implementation. You download the source code, you build it into your controller. What that allows people to do is to use Workbench, which is absolutely fantastic. But for people who are smaller and can't really get to the level of Niagara, there are other tools evolving. One of them, CPT from China and Thailand. And there's another one out of Australia called OpenBMCS. So we're really looking forward to the future with BACnet, Modbus, TCOM, SOCKS, both at the IP and the MSTP level, more on the HTML5 graphics, and really importantly, we're seeing this ecosystem of people developing apps now at the Sedona level, people developing tools, and EasyIO sits in the middle and purely develops hardware, and we see ourselves as an enabler so that other systems can sit on top.
There you have it, Mike Marston, Mad Mike. Yeah, if you haven't seen Mike yet, reach out to your local distributor. Tell them you want to get involved with EasyIO and their products. Mike will be at the 2013 Control Trends Awards. Hey, if you like Mad Mike and EasyIO, make sure to go nominate him for the 2013 Control Trends Awards, and be sure to register to vote for our top finalist. Thanks again, Mike. Kenny, what do we have up next?
All right, Eric. Next up, we had the U.S. manufacturers save $1 billion and prevent 11 million tons of CO2 carbon footprints from going into the atmosphere through the energy efficiency investments. This was a neat post by the energy.gov, and it's hard for us sometimes to realize all these things we're talking about doing, and how all these incremental changes that each one of us is doing, and each organization and each building's doing to improve it. But the overall effect becomes extraordinarily impacting. I mean, those are big numbers: $1 billion and 11 million tons of lessened carbon footprint. It's a great post, and if you're inclined, please go to that site, because there's a lot more information from the Department of Energy on the positive impacts of these programs.
Well, they really are positive, and we do Maxon burners, and so for a while, the burner industry has sort of adopted these, what they call low NOx, low SOx, which are basically low carbon emission type burners, and it really is having a great impact on the environment. So I think Tom Rosbeck alluded to it in his interview, that it's kind of cool in our industry with both energy savings and some of the flame safeguard and the burner manufacturers, what they're doing to really make an improvement in the environment. So I think our industry is doing its part to make the planet a cleaner, safer place.
All right. Next up, we have, does InTouch make the best communicating thermostat? We got a great thermostat post there from InTouch. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and some of the improvements that they've made, and just the how formidable that thermostat is?
Well, I got to tell you, we've talked about these guys in the past. Greg Fusulo, James Walton, and the rest of the team. These guys, Kenny, they were entrepreneurs. They were in the telecommunications business before, made a bunch of money, sold the company, went on, did all the yachts and all that stuff, and sort of got bored with that. So they reformed a company, InTouch, I guess about 4 or 5 years ago, and they really are focused on, I don't want to call it a thermostat because it's so much more than a thermostat, Kenny. It's really like a mini energy management system. So it is in the form of a thermostat. And that you mount it on your wall. But what these guys do different, Kenny, is you're able to bring multiple points in. So you're able to monitor your energy consumption. So through CTs and analog inputs. And then they basically have a great sort of cloud-based application where as a small business owner, you can actually monitor your consumption, see what's going on. And they got a great graphical interface where you can sort of see which loads are coming on, what the demand is, and it really helps you spot inefficiencies. And so they've great thermostat, great group of guys, and they're rolling out a new version of it, Kenny, that's less expensive. So you can have the full featured thermostat, but now you can also have one that's a little bit less featured, a little less expensive. Not that the other one was overpriced. It was right in the market with other things in the marketplace. But this one, Kenny, you can actually, like I say, monitor the energy consumption. You can bring in multiple temperature sensors. So I think they even got a little BTUs algorithm built in there, so you can actually monitor the BTUs of what your system's doing, which is just fantastic. So Greg's on the ballot for Executive of the Year. InTouch is on the ballot for the Thermostat of the Year. And James Walton for Best Technical Support. These guys, Kenny, are phenomenal. They're really dialed into a lot of the national chain type restaurants. I won't divulge a lot of who they're working with right now, but hoping to get Greg and James on the show maybe next week to speak a bit more. But please check these guys out. We'll put a link to the website below, but I think it's intouch.com. There's actually a link on the post, but this little video that we showed was actually James Walton. He showed up at Contractor Day, sort of wowed our group of contractors with what InTouch is bringing to the party. So, a lot of people playing in that space, Kenny. We've talked about it. The smaller building space, but InTouch is really, really, really dialed in. So, can't say enough about those guys. The other thing I'll mention real quick is it's a great application for, in your school systems, Kenny, do you have someone where they have the portable classrooms?
Absolutely, Eric. And you say it's more than a thermostat, then we'll call that an equipment controller, thermostat and equipment controller.
Yeah.
And you're right. And also, just to add to that, before I answer the question about the portables, they also have been nominated for an energy management system. So people are taking that serious enough that they've nominated the InTouch EMS, energy management system, as one of the best of the year for energy systems, energy management systems. So we try to find the right, the least control or the least controllers, the least investment per portable classroom. But it gets real tough because you have wireless issues, you have whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm sure this would be a good fit. I have not sold the InTouch yet in our area for that, but I have sold other thermostats.
Well, let me tell you what just sort of blew me away about these guys. And again, I think this bodes well for the fact that they're a smaller company. They're nimble. They're really, really focused. When I talked to Greg, he's like interested in controlled growth. In other words, he is really concerned about not sort of out punting his coverage, if you will. So these guys are, so they're really flexible. And we had a school system that basically needed to replace a bunch of these remote thermostats. And of course, these are wireless, so you can hook into the wireless network. They had some security issues with the existing wireless thermostats they were using. We reached out to 4 or 5 different vendors trying to get them. They basically had to rewrite the software to comply with what their IT people needed. And we couldn't get any takers. I mean, the most we could get was give us a commitment for an obscene amount of thermostats, and we might get something to you in 4 or 5 years. These guys didn't charge the school system anymore. They turned around, I think within a month and a half, they actually had the driver that they needed, rewrote the software, and took care of the school system. So these guys are, again, they're nimble, they're small, but boy, do they have a great product, and they provide great support and great service. InTouch Controls, check them out.
All right, next up we had a post from Honeywell Analytics. Are you going to the 2013 National Safety Council Congress and Expo in Chicago coming up later on this month through the first couple days in October? But just a basic little post there. Honeywell Analytics would like to invite you to visit with us at booth A2817, 2817 next week in Chicago. Come by and get your hands on the latest information on gas detection and safety. And also if you text or you do what they they want you to text something while you're at the show, and you could win a iPad. We're giving away 5 iPads.
Good stuff, Kenny. And I think, Honeywell already had an analytics offering. They bought Volcane. They bought another company. So they've really bundled these together. And I think they're probably a really dominant player in that market right now. I know Bacharach and some of the others have great product offerings too. So definitely worth checking that out. And I think we're seeing more and more for the gas detection and the analytics. just basically for again, the environment and safety.
Well, also, Eric, is Honeywell Analytics, their base protocol is BACnet, and they have a networkable E3 system that is unbelievable for carbon monoxide, carbon NO2 in the parking lot. We sell them fairly often, and you put them in and you can kind of forget about them, and they have an incredible change out. So if the sensor does become depleted through use and measuring or sensing carbon monoxide, it's real easy. It's like taking the printer cartridge out of your printer, you pop it out, or take it out, pop the other one in, and it automatically, it's an intelligent sensor controller combination, so it knows what it is and it knows if it's calibrated or not. And they're the great systems, and they integrate it well into your building management systems.
Well, and speaking of Honeywell and their events, we'll mention again, Honeywell has their EEO training coming up next week, their October class. They also have one in November. Last I talked to Jack Connell, you might be able to get into this October class. I'm sending 3 of our people up, Kenny. That's how much we think of the class. So it's a phenomenal class. But be sure to check Honeywell EEO training. For those of you who might not have heard the show last week, it's energy efficiency and optimization training. And they basically bring one day of Mark Jewell in. And Mark is the ultimate sales trainer. I mean, in terms of how do you communicate to a building owner in such a way that they can make a decision. And some of the things we've learned, Kenny, we've talked about on the show is, hey, the building automation guy is just one component of it. He's going to be interested in certain things, but the CFO, the CIO, the CEO, all those people are involved. So Mark talked about that. Then Honeywell provides you with the tools to actually go through, survey a building, create a one-page proposal, and close the deal. So check the Honeywell EEO training out. And speaking of Mark Jewell, Kenny, our next guest, let's welcome to the show, Mark Jewell. Mark, how's it going?
Hi, Mark.
Hey, Eric. Hey, Kenny. How are you doing? Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show.
Okay, so Mark, we know you travel around a lot. You do your 6-day boot camp. So where are you this week?
Yeah, I'm here in sunny Portland. Well, that's actually very rainy Portland. It's been raining for practically the entire time for the last 6 days we've been here, but that's okay. In any case, I'm going to Chicago for the next boot camp, and I understand from my iPhone weather at least that it's going to be sunnier there. So we're flying out on Sunday.
So, Mark, I know you do the boot camps all across the country. I know we got some people coming to your one in Charlotte, North Carolina. But give us an example of something a systems integrator might have learned if he was in your class today. What was the topic you guys covered?
So you asked, what do we do today? Well, 6-day boot camp. You covered 2,000 slides. But today, one of the topics that was of particular interest to the audience was this idea of cross-selling. Cross-selling holds a tremendous potential for maximizing the amount of revenue that you get from an existing customer. And frankly, it maximizes the usefulness of the customer acquisition cost that you've expended to get that customer in the fold, okay? So take a look at a typical controls contractor. Let's say you're used to putting boiler controls on, or just garden variety lighting controls, or time clocks for parking lot lighting, okay? What is the full continuum of things that you could offer that particular customer? For example, let's take the lighting example. You could go in there and just put in dimming ballasts, electronic ballasts, and T8 lamps, and call it a day. You could tie those electronic ballasts to a server and actually have individually IP addressable ballasts, and all of a sudden you're controlling those ballasts from the desktop of the worker sitting under the lights. You could tie them into a master system where in places like Southern California where there's critical peak pricing during demand response emergencies, now all of a sudden the utility can say, we'll pay you big bucks for any kilowatts you can shed out of that building. So now the building owner steps on top of the individual occupant in the office and manages to dim all the lights at the same time, so sort of a master dimming switch, and maybe takes the light levels down 10 or 20%. When the critical peak pricing emergency is over, then the building owner restores it to where it was. But at all times, you've got various people playing roles in this scenario. The customer himself, the building owner gets control of his lighting. The individual occupant of the building, that guy sitting underneath that one fluorescent lamp, he can dim that to the level that's appropriate given the daylight conditions, given how much glare he doesn't want to have on his laptop screen and that sort of thing. Interesting little tidbit. I heard the other day from a company that sells that kind of technology that I just described, that if you allow people to control their light to a level that they prefer, by giving them individualized control at their workstation, they wind up dimming their lights to a level of about 16% of brightness, possible brightness, which is a level that no lighting designer would have the courage to enforce upon a workforce just by saying unilaterally we're going to dim the lights down to 16%. So by giving people individualized control, you wind up saving a lot of money. One of the things that we emphasize is that you don't manage what you don't measure. And far too many salespeople, and I'll make the distinction between salespeople and sales professionals, salespeople don't really monitor their own performance. I mean, sure, they have metrics. They've got their sales manager breathing down their neck saying, how many calls did you make this month? What are your numbers? Or what percentage of quota are you? How much ink do you have? All the slang and jargon. But I'm talking about on a personal level, a sales professional is more intently focused on how many calls he made, how many connections he made, in other words, how many voicemails he made, how many pitches he made that particular day, how many pieces of literature they sent electronically in the wake of those kinds of voicemails and actual connections by phone, and then how many sales he made. I told guys in the class today what I used to do when I was selling is I would have an Excel spreadsheet that would track exactly what my production was on a daily basis, and it would actually extrapolate what my annual income would be if I did that level of production every day. Talk about an eye-opener. And if you do something like that to measure your metrics and pay attention to them every day religiously, you're going to have better things to put on your 7 most important things to do tomorrow, and you're going to have better numbers because you'll never have a chance to get complacent. You'll never get to the end of the month and say, holy cow, I'm really behind. It'll never be a surprise.
Well, that's very interesting, Mark. Tell me, what do you mean by the 7 most important thing?
Interestingly, this is not specific to the controls world, but I'll tell you something. The most successful executives in the world, including sales professionals, are the ones that actually know what they're doing the following day. And I give all of our ninjas, the efficiency sales professional ninjas, the advice that if they don't work the night before on what they're going to work on the next day, exactly what customers they're going to go after, exactly what database they're going to research, exactly what documents they're going to develop to put a message out there more effectively, whatever it is, if they don't take the time to put those kinds of details in writing the night before so that they can sleep on it and their subconscious mind can already think about how to do it, they're losing a phenomenal opportunity to get in the morning, to get in the office the next morning, and to have a really, really productive day. And frankly, one needn't be demoralized if one doesn't get all 7 things done. The fact that you order them in priority, and when you went in the next day, you started at number 1, and then you went to number 2, and then you went to number 3, even if you only get to number 4, hell, even if you only get to number 1, it's still better than not having understood the night before what you're going to work on the next day. So we tell all of our ninjas, regardless of their role in the sales process, understand what you're doing the following day. And by the way, for Monday, do it on Friday afternoon before you get tied up with the weekend, because that'll get you focused all weekend on what you're going to do to be effective on Monday.
Wow, there you have it, Mark Jewell. I tell you, this guy is one of the best sales trainers on the planet. You got to be sure to check him out. Get to one of his boot camps. Get to one of the Honeywell EEO programs at the very least. Check this guy out. His website is eefg.com. Mark Jewell. Hey, Mark, thanks so much for being on the show.
Next week, perhaps we'll do a broadcast from Chicago. We'll let you know some of the interesting questions that came up out of that boot camp. I'm sure there'll be plenty of them. And then the week after, Charlotte. So let's keep in touch. And thanks again for having me on the show.
Hey, we'd love to catch up with you in Chicago. And like I said, some of our people will be seeing you up in Charlotte. Mark, thanks again. Kenny, you and I are headed to Arizona next week. We'll probably be broadcasting live from the Johnson Controls conference. So we're lined up to talk to a lot of people out there. We'll hopefully get some update for you guys on the product line. We saw a post on Control Trends last week where they're discontinuing some of the old medicine stuff. Hopefully we can get hold of Chris Eichmann and some of those folks to get some clarification for the community on that. Anything else you can think of, Kenny, before we log off?
We would remind everybody about the Internet Explorer is not very compatible with Control Trends and to please use another web browser. And DG Logic is coming to Atlanta.
DG Logic is coming to Atlanta. And then the last thing I'll say is, hey, remember controlbid.com. It's a site that Stromquist and Company created. It's like eBay for controls. So if you have old controls you need to get rid of, easy to upload. We don't charge you a listing fee. We only charge you a small fee if your product sells. Or if you're looking for old stuff, it's a great place to find obsolete stuff. So maybe some of that old medicine stuff, if you still have it, you might want to post it or try to buy it on controlbid.com. Okay, that's it. Hey, a special thanks to Terry Swope, Mark Peacock from Linkspring. Terry, you rock. I mean, he is definitely the coolest executive in the world. We'll make that a new category next year on the Control Trends Awards. I think Terry will get that hands down. So thanks so much for that. Mike Marston, thanks so much for being a guest on the show. Mark Jewell. We appreciate you. He's Ken Smyers. I'm Eric Stromquist. We'll see you next week from Arizona on Control Talk Now.
Indeed.